Anecdotes for success. Level up with truth, meaning, trade-offs, perspective.
Yes, it is that time of week. Time I always look forward to. I love chit-chatting with you. So,
I
yes,
do too.
vision.
I'd like to tell people we stay up all night and do this till like 2 a.m. when we
You know,
have that vision.
it's funny though. We do get on here before and we talk for a while, and then we get on, then we stop and we talk for a while, and the things we cover, I think are so. Honestly, so those are some of the things I wish people, particularly people you and I always talk about reaching. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's people who know way more than you and I do. Hard as it is to believe, but some of those, just what we were talking about prior to this. I think, boy, a lot of people could get some good insight and lessons from some of those things. But I'm sure we'll continue to talk and have our conversations and have the fun we do with it, and hopefully people are getting something out of it. Frankly, at the end of the day, I get a lot of it. It's like over the weekend I was with my brothers, and we were talking for hours and hours and hours about politics and finance and investment and retirement and a million different subjects, and those are probably outside of time with my daughter, my wife, those are the favorite moments of my life. So I just look forward to them. So, and I look forward to it with you as well.
You still like each other after all those talks?
We 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 do, and it's funny because we agree on a lot, we disagree on things, but it's like we've even talked about often the four pillars with my brothers: truth, meaning, trade-offs, and perspective. Excuse me. And we've been talking about that for a while, really, since you and I started talking about it. And it'll be funny how often when we're talking, that will come up. And frankly, at the end of the day, what we're trying to find in our discussions is the truth, and is best we can, which we have our limits, of course, but we're trying to find the truth on these things, because that's what matters. It's not our political ideologies or whether you're married to some sort of concept or anything like that. And we have the ability, probably because we are so close and respect each other so much, to push in ways that you wouldn't push with a lot of other people, knowing full well that push is not to hurt feelings, not to take shots. It's to find that truth. And always at the end of the day, it's because we enjoy the time together. We care about each other. There's nothing that could be said in those conversations that would ever disrupt our bond and our friendship as brothers. And because of that, we can dive into areas that you just can't dive into with other people. So frankly, it's a real, and I hate this word, it's a real privilege to have those relationships with my brothers.
I think next time you're with him, I'm going to put a GoPro on your head and you're going live.
I was just thinking that would be fun. We're sitting in the dark kitchen of our cottage, and talking. I'm sure that would be quite a scene. And there could be there's colorful language used in those settings as well. So which makes it even better, probably. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And honestly, I'd like to think you could do that. I think those things are unfortunately not common enough. That's what the podcasts I love. Those are the podcasts I feel like I'm in the corner, right? I'm the fly on the wall, and they're just talking. And those are the ones I get the most out of. So
100%. It's funny because we started off having guests every week, and we still have a bunch lined up, but we've kind of just taken a little hiatus from it because we enjoy these conversations so much and feel we have a lot to offer, and we'll work our guests back into it. But we've kind of been evolving as well.
Yeah, we have, and that's certainly, gosh, nothing against our guests at all. They've been fantastic,
They've been
and
awesome.
I think you and I both would agree that having every single one of them on to talk some more would be fun, and it'd be cool to dive down different paths with them as well, and get to know them more and how they think, because that's what's so interesting. I know to me and you, but yeah, just doing kind of having art, because we have these conversations. How many times have we had conversations said, shoot, that'd been a good podcast? I mean, probably dozens. So, we're trying to, in truth be told, I guess we're trying to find a balance of that, aren't we? The guests, which we love, and the conversations, which drove us to kind of want to do this anyway. So
100%. And you didn't know this. That's why I'm saying it now, but I'm saying it to the audience right now, so you know as well. Next week when we do our podcast, we're not having any pre-talk. You're going to get on the Zoom with me. I'm going to hit record and we're just going to go, and we don't even know what we're going to talk about yet.
I love
Deal?
it. Love it. That's
We
a
say
deal.
we say it every week.
Yeah, deal. And that, I think that'll be good for us too, because so much the organic conversation is what we want, and that, I think that'll it'll either be great and organic or an absolute disaster, but we'll
Let me
learn
tell
either
you,
way.
these are my notes and I can't even read them, so it's not like we have a ton planned. but all right, here's what I want to start with: vision. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say a couple words to you and then you can go off from there. Okay.
Yep.
When I think of vision, I think of seeing, I think of conceiving, I think of imagining, and then I think of doing. What do you say about that?
Yeah, when I think of excuse me, when I think of vision, I think of perspective in a lot of ways, and I think that some people, we've all have, you say, I've met so and so, or I have a friendship or a relationship with so and so, and they have a real vision, and sometimes that vision, so often, the way I see it or look at it, is oftentimes in a certain area or category, right? Like my wife, for example, when we bought some property and we're building something on, and I hope to be able to talk to her about it in more depth here as we get all our permits and all that stuff done. But she looked at that land, right, and had this vision, and could see things that I can't see. And I think people have that in different areas. Rare is a person who I just say they have vision about everything. So often it's vision in a certain area, and I often also think, Paul, when I hear vision, I always think to myself, man, I wish I had more of it. I feel like I'm lacking vision, not in the sense of being able to look at a blank slate or something that hasn't started yet, and create from it. I don't think I'm strong in that area. So quite honestly, people with vision, I envy.
Oh, that makes a great point. So when I say seeing and conceiving and imagining and doing, it's a special person that can do that constantly. It's even more special if you're 17, 18 years old and can do it, because you don't have the perspective yet.
Great
So
point.
there's two, I mean, to be a visionary, you have to have perspective. I guess some people, for lack of a better word, are just maybe born with it if they catch on at an early age. And then others, it's something that they develop over time. But at the same time, maybe the best way to have a vision is to meet or find somebody that kind of shares what you think and talk about. And you're not unwilling to disagree, but you can still see far enough ahead where the disagreement's what keeps the vision going.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think when you say vision, so much of it comes from experience, and like you're saying, you've got someone younger with less experience, just by definition, who has vision. I think that is a unique skill set that they would have been born with it, which I don't. I'd love to know some data on that, or how you even measure vision, right? I mean, how do you measure vision? I think the end result would be a one way to measure it, but so for me, when I think of the vision I have comes from mistakes. It comes from the perspective I've obtained, usually from trying something and failing. And when I say failure, and I use that word all the time because I think it's so important, such an important word, I think I use it differently than what a lot of people hear. When I think failure to me isn't the end. It's just I tried something. And by tried something, I don't mean trying to build a multi-billion-dollar business. Maybe it's I just tried to create a new sandwich, right? And it wasn't any good. So then you tweak this or you tweak that. So failure to me isn't this day of reckoning. It's just, I tried something, it didn't work well enough. Let me tweak it, move from there. So I think failure to so many people means the end. It's over, done. I gotta try something new. I'm awful. You're beating yourself up over it. So when I say failure, I mean, that didn't work as well as I'd hoped. Let me tweak it. Or maybe that didn't work at all. Let me scrap it. But it never means you're done. It never means game over. But when it comes to me, from the vision, what vision I have, and again, I don't look at myself with that term as being a strength of mine. It comes down to I've tried it and I failed. I do promotions of events and concerts and things like that. And I'll have people tell me, oh, you must have a great knack for that, for knowing what would work, what won't work. I'm like, my God, you must not know me at all. I don't have a knack at all for that. I just have failed enough and succeeded enough to be able to kind of envision based on numbers where I need to be in order to try to make it work. So to me, it comes down to experience, but I know there's other people out there who actually have vision, can take something, nurture it. And you said one of the words that stood out to me, take action.
And that's why it's so special the younger you are. And so we've got seeing, conceiving, imagining, adjusting, doing, taking action. And it's probably better served if you have perspective because you have experience. So we're kind of building this definition as we go along. I think the longer you go without this, I think another word creeps in, and that's called regret. So is it fair to say having vision doesn't mean you're going to put somebody on Mars? It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to invent something that hasn't been invented. You just are always pursuing some meaning or plan. And if you don't do that and you lack that type of vision and don't know where to get started, it's just a regret.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Elon Musk is looking at putting people on Mars, right?
But he's not the only one with vision. And because if we go by that definition, I'm stopping this right now.
I was gonna say that guy's I love him. He's a lunatic. Right. I mean, the stuff he's trying to do. Imagine having that brain.
I can't.
Actually, I've heard him say it's a curse. He feels like he's cursed with it because it just never stops. And I could understand what he means, even though I'm nowhere close to that. But you know what I think too is what you're saying there is the number of people I know who are just working to complete the work someday so they can leave the workforce, and they have no meaning. They don't have any, in many cases, their job doesn't give them an opportunity, and probably many of them don't want it, to have or use their vision. It's you go to work, you punch the clock, figuratively or literally, and you do the job, and there's no creativity involved. There's no need for vision. And in many cases, they don't even have a vision of where's my career going, right? Where's the career path? I don't care if you're a janitor. Maybe you want to be the lead janitor. And then someday, maybe you quit the job, start your own janitorial service, charge the building to hire your people. Now you got to, that's vision to me. And that's meaning to me. It's not just going in, punching the clock, doing the task, and then then off you go. And those are the things that lead to regret. Don't carry meaning with them and lead to regret. And those are the things that, you know me, I can't. I had these conversations over the weekend. I can't get off my soapbox enough when I talk to people about that stuff. I go, my goodness, you've got this one life. Why are you so willing to give it such little effort? And it drives me crazy. And that's not everyone, of course, but those people are out there.
Oh, you've got the lack of vision, which I coined is technically regret. But then you've got the other vision, I talked about it earlier, of the FIRE crowd, the acronym Financial Independence Retire Early. And they're always, wow, what a promising young individual. They're working hard, they're sacrificing so much so they can become financially independent and retire early. And what'd you tell me earlier? What's so good about
retiring early? I mean, when you'd said it before we started recording, and I'd never heard that acronym before. And the minute you told me what it meant, as I told you at the time, the first thing that popped into my head was, why are we doing something we don't enjoy, that we're just can't wait to retire early? Now, if you retire early, you retire early. That's fine, but to live your life to retire early, I feel like you're making a trade probably in something that you're not enjoying. And that to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Frankly, I'd rather work longer doing something I loved than retire early doing something I didn't love, because I know what you and I are what, 4 years apart. We've been grinding, working our jobs and our careers, and what do we do for a long time, and we still got, time to go theoretically. The thought of doing things that I didn't enjoy just to reach some sort of financial goal, it doesn't resonate with me. I can see why people are going for that. I don't see why they're willing to give up 15, 20, 25 years of such an important part of their life every day, or most days, doing things they don't really want to do. And none of us have the ability to go to work every day and just love every day. But there's a difference between that and the I can't wait to retire crowd. And I just don't I know what that trade-off must entail, and personally, I don't agree with it.
So Matt, I mean, that's it. I have a couple years left. I'm 49 till I can retire in New York State as a teacher. And that actually is what scares me, because I love my job so much. I love the teaching, I love the coaching. So, I mean, we'll talk about it someday in the podcast. I've been involved in a lot of cool stuff, some of it with you, and I've never been more busy in my life, but it's been more exciting than ever too. I mean, the kids are growing up, they're gone, the financial independence part's great, but I don't understand the retire early if you don't have meaning. Like, to me, that's a huge trade-off I wouldn't want. So my vision the last 2 years has evolved, I guess, and we can get to that in a minute, because retiring early, which I would be able to do theoretically as a teacher just a year or two, doesn't seem too appealing to me, because what will I do with myself?
Well, that's I don't follow that either, right?
So when we talked before, that's why we got to just start recording sometime. The financial independence thing's real.
Yeah.
But I think it was, you said, but to have the financial independence to choose when you want to work and what projects you take on, and maybe even where in the world you want to work.
Yes.
I think I look at it differently. As a teacher, I have a false sense of independence every summer when I go 10 weeks without working. Okay. So when you're younger with kids, and it's a little different now, you're a little torn, like how independent you are as far as the choice to go work anywhere in the world or do whatever I want, because I got to come back in September. But I think that's what's appealing to me, to have that independence of the summer all the time and get to choose my job. That's why I'm making a few changes now. So the financial independence is important to you, but not to retiring early.
Exactly. Financial independence is the most important thing to me. Was, I told you from the day we kind of, got talking, going back years, you know, I have one word that defined my journey, my motivation. It was freedom, and that's never changed. What has changed is how much freedom I had then versus the freedom I have now, and that's a great thing. Change for the better. But I've been working on it for years. I'm into decades now, or past a decade, consciously making choices to find my financial independence so that I had freedom. Again, you know this. My wife knows this. Virtually anybody who spent more than 5 minutes with me knows this. I don't plan to ever retire. I don't give it a thought. To me, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. That's freedom to me. And that includes building businesses, participating in my community, both as a business owner and as a citizen, helping others, both financially and just intellectually. There's a lot of things I want to do and continue to do, and virtually all of them revolve around continuing to do things in the working world. If things go the way I want them to, I will never retire. If my health went, then there you go. That might be it, but that wouldn't be by choice. I just find too much meaning, too much purpose, too much joy, too much excitement, too much love and passion and liveliness not to continue to do what I'm doing. I don't even understand people who talk about retirement. I truly don't. I'm like, why? You don't love what you're doing? So you want to leave what you're doing? Well, then why have you been doing it? I want to say, why? I got a good buddy who I was talking to over the weekend. He's telling me about his retirement day. And I'm like, I said to him, well, why are you doing it if you can't wait to quit it? And, he had his answers, and none of which I really agree with for me. I mean, he can do anything he wants. That's the beauty of it. You can do anything you want. Just leave me out of it. I'll do what I want. I'll leave you out of it. That'll be our deal. But the independence is where it's at. The retire early, that to me could just, if you called it freedom to do what you want, I'd be on board a little bit more, but I understand it. But go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. So we're going to change this FIRE acronym as we speak. Heck what they say, whoever they are, right?
I like it.
Instead of financial independence, a better vision might be freedom and independence.
Yep.
You're not buying the financial part.
Well, no. You can't have freedom without financial independence, right?
Right. But do you think having the words freedom and independent will help you chase your vision more than just financial independence, or am I just splitting hairs on something that doesn't matter?
No, I think you need financial independence and freedom. I think
it doesn't spell fire then. So I don't know. We're gonna have to work on it.
I got you. I thought we were gonna change the whole acronym.
No, we can, but FIFA's already taken for soccer. But you know what? Now you got me thinking.
I hope we don't get sued. Yeah, financial independence, freedom, and now we need an A, and we're stealing FIFA.
How
about financial independence allows freedom or equals freedom, or
now that doesn't spell FIFA. I don't think you get the concept here. Oh man.
You know what? I'm not interested in the acronym. I'm interested in, I know you're kidding around. I'm interested in really though what you would want. And frankly, it would not be in my nature to tell a young person who came to me for advice that, hey, look, give it all up. You're going to get your financial independence and work your tail off, I'll tell them all this, work your tail off, make your sacrifices, give up the short term in order to get the long term. Those are all things I believe in. What I wouldn't say is do it in an area or marry yourself in an area where you can, once you get your numbers, you can get the heck out. Because I don't know where you're left at that point. And I also think it makes it much, much, much more difficult. If all you're doing is chasing the money, if all you're doing is looking at the numbers and your personal numbers, I think your likelihood of wearing out goes up dramatically. Doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have, but the likelihood that you're going to grind through the rough times, overcome the obstacles, when every day's I can't wait to be done with this so I can retire. I think the likelihood of failure goes up dramatically.
So your vision should not be based solely on financial gains. Your vision should be to achieve the lifestyle you want, but I guess you can't do that without well, everybody's financial needs are different. But vision should be greater than just acquiring a lot of money, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, right. Well, here's one area that I see a hole in what we've been saying or what I've been saying that someone might wonder about is, well, if I'm retired, I have my freedom. And my answer to that, or retort to that, would be, you're joking, right? Like, if you're retired, that means you don't have to go to work. But if you can't afford to go do what you want, that's not freedom. I mean, if your goal is to watch Jeopardy 5 days a week, and and that's the extent of what you want out of life, then I guess you are free. But that's not my definition. For me, the freedom means I can travel, I can give, I can take risks, I can do things that I'm not bound by relatively normal financial constraints. That's freedom to me.
Yeah. So if I do a financial needs analysis for a client, everybody has their financial independence number. And it kind of really isn't true, because teachers retire because at some point you're getting paid more to not work than work. Makes sense if you've been in the system for so long. A 401k, you may feel you have enough money to retire, but it's all relative, because if I can't go live in a different country every year for the rest of my life, or take a trip to wherever when I feel like it, I'm retired, but I'm not free, am I?
Exactly.
So financial independence and vision is about, in my opinion, doing things you like, but also creating systems and processes where you're still going to have something passively rolling in through what you've created when you're retired.
Yeah, and hopefully,
but then you're not retired.
Right. Well, but hopefully something that keeps up with inflation, number one, and number two, one thing you've taken on when you've retired is you now have all this free time, right, that you never had before. Let's call it 40 hours a week for the average. We'll just use that number for obvious reasons. Now you've got 40 hours a week you got to fill somehow, right? Well, how are you going to fill it? Because when you're at work, generally, you're 40 hours a week, you're not spending money, right? You're not using resources. You're not using, cash. You're not spending. Well, now you've got this 40 hours available to you. The point is, the likelihood that you're going to outspend yourself increases because you don't have something taking 40 hours a week to keep you from shopping, keep you from consuming things, right? Whether it's going out to lunch, whether it's, taking the grandkids to the amusement park, all these things that entertain you, that are going to fill your time. Many, many, many of them cost you money. So now when you're filling out your form on what you're going to need in retirement, are you accounting for all this time now that you have free that you're going to want to do something with? It's going to take resources from. And I've met many people who said, the one thing I hadn't planned on was, man, I have all this free time now, and in order to fulfill it or fill it with something fulfilling, it often costs me money that I wasn't planning on. And I think people need to think that through very, very carefully.
So vision, it's one thing to plan financially because you have this vision of retiring. But if your vision all those years was nothing fulfilling or had no meaning, you're really doing all that for nothing at a later time in your life. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you're making a terrible trade. I mean, maybe that's the only trade you have available to you, and sometimes that's the case too, right? I mean, not everyone has the opportunities that we wish they had. But
True.
I'm talking in generalities, and if you're making that trade, I think it's a bad trade. I just don't think that's not worth it. It's not anything I'd tell anybody to make that trade. Never.
That's why, I joke. I saw an internet video where Steve Harvey talks about a vision list, and I've come up. It's hard. I challenge everybody to do it. 300 things that you envision yourself doing, achieving. They could be simple affirmations. They could be things you want to try. It could be a bucket list / financial goals / experiences. And it really grinds you once you get into the 70s to try to come up with 300, Matt.
Yeah, you're telling me about this. I
yeah,
have
and
never tried.
I look at it most mornings, and I might just spend 60 seconds looking at it. I might not read all 300 of them, right? I don't have that attention span. But I think it keeps me grounded with what I want to try, with what I'm doing. Yeah, my goal is to retire, but what's next? Because if you just retire and you don't have any exit plan, you're going to be reinventing yourself at some point. And that could be a huge struggle. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think you revisit your vision all the time. And like I said earlier, it's seeing, it's conceiving. That's why I like reading that vision list. It's imagining things, but it's eventually adjusting and doing. So it's got to all be related through perspective and experience.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that vision list before, and I found it intriguing. And then life got a hold of me. I never thought about it again until now. I would love to do that. Is there any? I mean, that you said it was Steve Harvey.
If you Google Steve Harvey vision list, he does a little YouTube video on it.
Okay.
And then I'm such a nerd. I made a little document with 300 spaces and I left one blank. I'm going to send it to you. So challenge.
I want to take on this challenge, and if we're doing it in this space, then that's good. That's good accountability, right? If I'm doing it
Right.
Here, I will do that. I know it's going to be hard, and I'm not even going to put a timeline on it until I have an opportunity to get into it. But I do really like that thought, because I'm a goal setter, and I have a monthly figure personal in mind that I shoot for all the time. I'm a vision guy in that sense, right? I don't have vision to produce things that aren't there, but I'm someone who, well, maybe I do. Maybe that's what happens, I guess, as I think about it.
You'd be surprised. But again, that monthly goal can be one of your items, but he wasn't lying. So it's the Steve Harvey vision list. I got it through a friend I met on Twitter. His name's Seth Rollins. I want to give him a shout out. I was in a little direct message engagement group with him, and he challenged us, and I did it, and it's been great. And it's no lie, when you get to 75, you think, how can I come up with 300? But it happens. And you got to set it down. You can't just sit there one night and think you're rattling off 300.
Yeah, I would imagine that seems daunting to me.
And it's a mix of micro, it's a mix of macro, it's a mix of family. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
A specific vacation spot, even somewhere you've never been.
Do you like check them off kind of thing when you're done? Is that how it works?
He recommends 1 year later, you look back at it and check off all you've accomplished. He says you might get 50 or 60. It's not a race.
Right.
And then do you fill those with new ones? Like, I haven't got that far, but I look at it because we get so busy, and that's really what happens with some people working. You get so busy. I mean, you've got work, you got bills, you got family, and you keep thinking to retire someday, but that's not guaranteed. So why can't your vision include doing while you're working and achieving for later?
I think that's an awesome point. I think that is one of the biggest challenges, and probably most people's lives in our country anyway. They're thinking constantly, I got the kids, I got work, I got a boss to answer to. I've got, maybe I want to get, maybe they're taking, college courses. Maybe they're raising grandchildren, with part of, before they even retire. There's a lot, that goes on. How do you ever have the ability to look at other things when you feel probably every day is a rat race, right? Every day is just a go, 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 go. And that's what I was always trying to escape. And sometimes I guess I need to understand that having escaped that for the most part, I get to look more at a broad kind of thing. And that is amazing. And so when I think of this stuff, I think, well, of course you would have vision, but I didn't always, because I was running the rat race with everyone else. And if you're in that rat race, you would be doing yourself a favor to come up with a list like this to keep you kind of pointed, right? You always got to be pointed towards something, pointed in the right direction.
Final thoughts. I'll leave with this. So I think of vision to me has to be balanced within a spectrum. There's nothing absolute. Like, I think of somebody rich that worked their whole life to retire. I think of Scrooge McDuck going into his vault and checking and sitting on his pile of cash all day. But if you don't have that vision to save, I think of his nephews that were just getting into trouble all the time and, getting into whatever escapades, and he's always complaining and whining that they don't have anything going for themselves. You can't have one, you can't have the other. So you got to try to balance what your vision is. So in my weird mind, that's the stuff I think about. How about you?
No, I think when you talk about anything, first of all, there's so much nuance in between, right? There's no absolutes, and I think people should be aware of that when they hear people make statements. It's like there's not a lot of absolutes. There's a lot of nuance in these things, but balance is very important. I don't think I would have a meaningful, fulfilled life if I didn't have balance, family, travel, work, all these things. I'm constantly trying to weave together in a way that makes sense. And it's not easy, it's not easy, I don't think, for anyone, but I think it is super important. And achieving that balance will make you happier and will provide you with more meaning. But none of these things are absolutes, and they all, nuance, I think, is the right word for it. But you kind of made me think about vision a little differently with the Steve Harvey thing I hadn't thought of before. So I appreciate that. That was good. Now I'm excited about doing that.
It's awesome. And I'll get that to you. So I think we did this one a little different. I think we build our definition of vision without knowing it. So I'm going to shorten the beginning. Vision's about seeing and conceiving, and it's about imagining and doing through perspective, experience, and balance.
I like it.
All right, man. We'll see you next week.
All right, Paul. Thanks.
Yeah, bye.